I am ashamed to tell you that games like Fear and Doom has the ability to fool me that I'm afraid. The condition that those games have put me in over the past is not fear. The only thing those games have managed to do to me is making me feel startled. If you haven't played these games, what those games call horror is making you walk around in a quiet dark place for a while and having a big scary monster surprising the fuck out of you. This led me to believe that the feeling of being startled is fear, until I played a certain game, released back in September. That game was Amnesia, The Dark Descent.
I must stop him. Focus. My name is...
In Amnesia you play as Daniel. You wake up in Castle Brenningberg, not remembering anything from your past. You find a note that you wrote to yourself that tells you this.
1839. I wish I could ask how much you remember. I don't know if there will be anything left after I consume this drink. Don't be afraid, Daniel. I can't tell you why, but know this. I choose to forget. Try to find comfort and strength in that fact. There is a purpose. You are my final effort to put things right. God willing, the name Alexander of Brandenburg still invokes bitter anger in you. If not, this will sound horrible. Go to the inner sanctum, find Alexander, and kill him. His body is old and weak, and yours, young and strong. He will be no match for you. One last thing. A shadow is following you. It's a living nightmare, breaking down reality. I have tried everything, and there is no way to fight back. You need to escape it as long as you can. Redeem us both, Daniel. Descend into the darkness where Alexander waits and murder him. Your former self, Daniel.
Who Alexander is and why you want to kill him is something you find out during the course of the game. The story plays out by you finding familiar places that will trigger a flashback, and reading notes that are scattered around the castle. The most important notes are read to you by Daniel. Unfortunately, not all of them are read out loud to you. If you are like me and don't like to read things while playing a game, this may be off-putting, but for the most part, the less important notes are still worth the read, since there is a very rich storyline to be had in this game. It explores the dark sides of humanity and how we sacrifice others to save ourselves, and towards the end, when it all comes together, it starts to tickle you in all the wrong places. But even if you choose to not read every note, you will get a good story, so don't worry about that. It's really hard to describe why Amnesia is so frightening that it is. One of many reasons is the top-notch atmosphere. I swear, it is so good that you can almost taste and smell it. Yeah. I found myself having a massive panic attack that caused me to run like hell for the exit of the area, when nothing even happened. I mean, it just fucks with your head. You hear that dog being tortured somewhere in the castle? Or the girl screaming her lungs out in despair? Well, disturbingly enough, they aren't just there to build the atmosphere, as most things. They are all there for a reason. You may be wondering, why is that scary looking enemy's face split in the middle? Well, look hard enough and you will sadly enough find out why. Many times through the course of the game, I had to turn off the game because I had to catch my breath and sit down and tell myself, it's just a game. But just minutes later, I turned the game on again. Why? Well, I found the castle story and everything to be really interesting, and I just had to know what would happen later. This is something that is often missing in many horror games. A mystery. This is one of the main reasons why I haven't played the games I mentioned earlier all the way to the finish. There are a couple of times where the game does use shock scares, but they make more sense in this game. Instead of just fake scaring you through the entire game, the shock scares, who most of them are located early in the game, helps building the tension for what's to come. And when those things come, you won't be happy to hear that you have no way to defend yourself. No weapons, hell, you can't even punch the enemies. All you can do is to trust your instincts and run. Control-wise, the game uses a very neat little interface that really helps with making you feel immersed. For example, instead of just pressing some button to open a door, you actually grab the door and pull it open with your mouse. It doesn't sound like much, but it does add a lot to the experience. It might take some time for some people to get used to it, but personally it became second nature in just a couple of minutes. I even got so used to it that when I play other games, I walk up to drawers and try to pull them open. There aren't many buttons to keep track of, so it becomes very dynamic. What might interrupt the immersion for some people is the fact that when you pick things up, you can't see your hand. The objects just float around in the air. One of the few downsides I can tell you about the game is that the structure of the game is slightly repetitive. You go to a hub area that has a couple of different rooms available for you. One door is usually locked, and there is always a place where you are supposed to go, but you can't go there until you do something in the hub area. After that you go through some places with some intense horror. I'm talking about chase scenes that will make your heart jump out of your chest, and some hide and seek with monsters. Many people complain that the game is too short. Personally, I don't agree. It is true that the game is short, but it feels like a very complete game, and it ends at pretty much the right place. As you may have noticed by watching the footage, there are some floating icons scattered around the game. They are there just because it was my second playthrough of the game, and I wanted to listen to the developer commentary. Developer commentary is something that I completely love and worship. It was enough to get me to play through the game once more. Also worth mentioning is that there's a level editor, so you can expect to download custom maps for the game, so you're still getting some value after you complete the game. The graphics in this game are absolutely amazing, especially for an indie title. I'm completely blown away over the fact that this game was made by only around 5 people, if you count the sound designer and such. Some effects in the game may be a little weird, but you can't really complain at all considering the team size. Also, I ran into a glitch near the end. The room I was in was supposed to be covered in meat that hurt you. The meat didn't appear for me, so it was like I was being hurt by nothing, but it wasn't a big deal. I've been babbling on for quite a while now, and I haven't even talked about one of the best parts of the game, the music. The music is completely fantastic. I can honestly say that it's perfect. Well, it may not be super catchy if you listen to it in your iPod, but it's not supposed to be. Any good horror title needs amazing sound design, and I can't really remember the last time music affected me emotionally this much. Imagine being chased with this playing in the background, and you may know what I'm talking about. Despite a few minor flaws, Amnesia: The Dark Descent is a completely amazing game. The pricing is almost a steal for a game that brings big horror studios to shame. I can't recommend it enough, even if you won't dare to play it all the way to the end. Frictional Games deserves every last penny. I give Amnesia: The Dark Descent a perfect 10.